إني ألقى الإيناس في صومي وصلاتي ودعائي للرحمن وجميع الطاعات.
Don't record her if she doesn't want to be.
Yeah, I don't believe
That's
it.
fine.
No, I don't want to be all over the.
So, no, tell me.
I want. This used to be a really good place to come to debate before the cameras came. Sorry,
Why
I know you, didn't I?
I probably
From
I don't know.
time, yeah.
Why are you frustrated?
I'm frustrated because there's no action and people are dying. Women and children are dying.
Okay.
And it's just ridiculous.
All right. So do you feel like there should be more action to prevent death?
No, I think there should be more action to help innocent people
Innocent
dying.
people dying. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something though?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. I think there should be more action from Muslims and non-Muslims. Yeah. We don't agree with what they're doing. First of all, as the brother rightly said, we don't agree with what they're doing. We will protect the rights and the honor of Muslims and non-Muslims alike. So I'm with you on that. There is no point of disagreement here, yeah? But I would like to say something as well. And you seem like a fair-minded person. There's a lot of people on you. That's why you're a bit maybe impassioned there. But let me tell you something, right? I was just recently looking into the case of Burma, yeah? You know, Burma is a country which is majority Buddhist country. 80% of people in Burma are Buddhist. There's a small group of people there called the Rohingya, yeah?
Yeah, I know.
Who are they?
They've been Muslims who've been persecuted.
Okay, so tell me something about the Rohingya.
Well, I don't know much about them.
That's the problem. Okay, you don't know much about them. Why? Because it's Buddhist terrorists doing it to Muslims, right? Now this doesn't fit the media narrative, does it?
Yeah, but you're pulling out a tiny
not tiny.
section.
It's not tiny.
So why? Okay.
Hold on.
So
We're being fair to each other
why
now,
are
yeah?
Muslims killing Muslims? And let's just get down to the nitty-gritty.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Because
That's
more
fine.
Muslims are killed by Muslims than anybody else.
That's because the population of Muslims. The population of Muslims in the world is quite hefty. It's quite a big population. That's point one, right? So when you compare Muslims with Jews, for example, or Buddhists even, it's not a fair comparison because we're talking about a quarter of the world's population comparative to, let's say, with the Jewish example, less than 1% of the world's population.
Yeah, but I'm just asking you, why are Muslims killing Muslims?
They do so for a variety of different reasons.
We don't agree with
If
that.
you're Muslim, how can you justify killing?
We don't justify.
I think you're
That's
right.
the thing. We don't justify.
Right.
Why do you assume we justify
Can
it?
you understand how
We don't need to make this into a debate. Let's make this into a discussion,
Yeah.
right? Because I don't think here there's a point of shouting at each other. I don't think
No,
we
I'm not
disagree.
shouting.
I don't think we disagree, right? Your primary premise was that you don't like dead people. You don't like people being killed unjustly, yeah?
No, of course not.
You want people to stop dying unjustly in this world, right?
And that's what Jesus preaches.
Okay, fine. That's very nice, yeah. But I'll tell you the truth. If you're talking about Jesus and talk about Christianity, we have to be also very fair and look at the broad scale of history, right? And if you're asking about why Muslims killed Muslims or why did Christians kill Christians, you know, you have Catholics and Protestants killing each other. It happens, right?
Yeah, but Catholics are not Christians.
Okay, fine.
According to you.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
It's true. It's like saying Shia and Sunni.
No, it's not like saying.
It's not the same.
Okay, fine. If you believe that, that's fine. That's your position. But I don't think it's the majority position, right? Here, what I'm going to say to you is this. We have to be consistent. Just because we're look at the raw data is what I'm saying, yeah? If we look at the raw data, we'll come to the conclusion. Like, let me give you an example. Just suicide bombing as one example, yeah? When I say suicide bombing, what does this woman here, what does she envisage? Someone like me, right? Let's be honest. Or this man here or whatever, like something inside of my, and blow myself up, right? Because suicide bombing is almost synonymous with Islamic suicide bombing, isn't it? Would you agree
It
with
has
that?
become like that.
If we look at the
It
raw...
originated in Japan from the kamikaze.
Nice one. If you look at the raw data, for example, there's a book written by Robert Pape, yeah? It's called Dying to Win. He analyzes from 1980 to 2005 all of the cases of suicide bombing. He said there's 315 cases of suicide bombing on the international level. And he said that the number one culprits of this were the Tamil Tigers, with 75 cases of 315. Then there's a range of other people, then the Islamic suicide bombing comes into play. Yeah, Tamil Tigers are not Muslim, just for the
All the
record.
kamikazes.
Now the point is, when was the last time you put on BBC and you saw Tamil Tigers, or whatever it is, Channel 4, you saw Tamil Tigers, whatever it is.
That's why you don't see your matches then.
Exactly.
All right, no, hold on. Use the internet. You're like me here. We have something in common. Go online. When was the last time you saw Tamil Tiger blows himself up? When was the last time you saw a headline like that? The reason why you're not aware of these things that are happening in the world is because you have not been made aware. And that's why in communication theory in the 1930s, when I talk about TV, one scholar of communication theory said that TV doesn't tell you what to think. but it does tell you what to think about. And that's what you have to remember.
I don't watch
I'm not
TV.
talking about TV. The media as a complex, generally, that's what it's done. If you look at this is what my point is here today. My thesis is as follows. If you look at the raw data of things like suicide bombing, of things like terrorism, you'll find that comparative to their population, Muslims do not score overwhelmingly, disparately, as a ratio, higher than any other faith group. In fact, Noam Chomsky has written many books about this. His point is that if we consider state terrorism, then the United States of America will be the global world leader. Higher than ISIS, by the way. Higher than ISIS. The only one that can beat IS in barbarism and cruelty and all these things is the US itself.
But can I just say something?
Go ahead.
They're not going out killing Christians, though, are they?
Who?
The America.
Well, they are Christians, a lot of them themselves.
No, but what I'm saying, that they're not going out and killing fellow Christians.
Oh, Vietnamese people.
But Muslims are
Actually,
going out
because they're
killing
not Christian.
fallen
Look,
Muslims.
I'll tell you something, right?
But I think you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, no, I do want to. I agree
really
with you.
do think
Look,
that you don't want to
let me
hear
tell you
that
something. I
point.
agree with you. Yeah? Oh, here we go. Yes. Muslims are doing the wrong thing by killing
How
other
can we
Muslims.
stop it?
How do we stop it?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do we stop it?
Here's the honest truth. Me and you
Yeah.
are people here standing in Speaker's Corner on a nice sunny day, which is not usually the case in London, yeah? Right? Me and you can do limited things. I know you're frustrated. You see on, let's say, the internet.
No, but
yeah?
I just fed up of that.
I know you
because
are.
It's not,
I know
it's
you
just
are.
ridiculous.
But I want you to be as fed up of that as you are of the Rohingya being demolished in Burma.
But we're not talking about the Rohingya.
Why not? That's the
But
problem.
I'm talking about the fact
Go on.
that we have the mass slaughter
Yeah.
of Muslims
Yes.
by Muslims.
Okay, I agree with that point.
And something's got to be done because people are too complacent.
So what do you think we should do?
I don't know. I'm not a Muslim.
Okay. I'll tell you what we
I'm
can
asking
do.
you what
Okay,
can we
what
do?
we can do, we can only educate. That's our limitation.
How can you do that?
We're doing it here. You're coming
know,
to the
but
wrong
this is a
people here.
small-
Do you know who you should have gone to, right? You should have gone to the people that were on the cafeterias there, smoking shisha and drinking coffee, not doing anything about it. You're coming to the people who are actually doing the only thing they can do, which is trying to educate people about terrorism, about Islam.
But
Any military might go to the government.
it's a community.
I agree with you.
It's
I don't disagree with
taking
you.
the message and taking it into the community, the Muslim
But can I
community.
tell you,
Non-Muslims doing that.
can I tell you something else, Lizzie?
we
yeah?
got
Listen, let me tell you another point, right? You might not want to hear this, I don't know. But there's another, okay, the Muslims are to blame. I'll be the first one to say that. The Muslims are to blame for many of the problems. Point one. In fact, most of our problems are because of the Muslims themselves. I'll say most of them, yes.
Let me shake your
No,
hand.
I'm not going to shake hands. for Islamic reasons, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
No disrespect.
No, don't worry.
That's right. Number one, most of the problems are from Muslims themselves. That's why in the Quran it says Allah does not change a condition of a people until they change the conditions of themselves. So we believe that the reason, I personally will tell you here, the reason why you have so much, why are you going?
This man is stupid. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. The reason why, okay, most of these things are happening in the Muslim world is because the Muslims themselves have not internalized Islam. That's the problem.
What do you mean internalized?
Internalized it, they're not embodying it, they don't understand it. A lot of them, Muslims, are ignorant. And a lot of them are desperate. So they have problems. And we're not justifying
Can I
it.
just say one thing?
They're the problem.
I've been coming for years, and you were the most honest and
thank you very much.
and open Muslim I spoke to.
Oh, thank you very
and it's
much.
very refreshing.
No, I'm happy you say that because
Yeah.
it shows
Yeah,
that
but
we're
continue
trying to-
that, please.
Okay, let me tell you another point, right? I'll say the truth. Yes, the Muslims are number one. If you had a blame list, I put number one, Muslims are to blame. Why? Because of their nationalism, of their hating each other, racism, of their cultural baggage that they have, the problems that they have, not understanding their religion. They need to be a reform. Listen, but I'm not saying within the religion, I'm saying within the Muslims, right? Muslims, Muslims need to go back to Islam,
learn their religion.
okay, and go back to it. That's number one. Point two here, I believe that the West has something to do with it. Now, I'm not going to blame the West all the time, but I'll say, look, the truth is, if you look at the colonial, like, 600, from 1600s, 17th century, up until the 20th century, 1900, 20th century, yeah? This was a period of colonialism. Now, you might not realize this, but
Yeah, but we had the Ottoman. It was exactly
Yeah,
the
exactly,
same.
yeah.
So we're both guilty of these things.
first of all, let's talk about the majority of Muslims, and this might be something that might shock you, right? Especially in the late 1900s and in the 20th century, the majority of Muslims were not in the Ottoman Empire, they were in the British Empire. Did you know that? They were part of India and Pakistan, all these countries that the British Empire had colonized. So the majority of Muslims were not under Ottoman rule. In the 1900s, the majority of Muslims were under British rule. Point one. Point two, you have to understand, if you look at a world map today, you ask why are Muslims killing each other? I'll tell you the reason. Okay? Look at Syria, for example. It's one of the most religiously diverse countries from in the Muslim world.
It's practically
Look,
bordering on.
do you know what's happening in Syria today? Happened in Lebanon already. In the 1980s, there was a 10-year war in Lebanon. Why? Because when the colonial master drew the lines, when they said, okay, this is going to be Syria, this is going to be Lebanon, what they did is they intentionally put opposing factions in the same country, such that they would have to dispute over sovereignty, who's going to be in charge. And that has continued to happen both in Lebanon and Syria. That's why you'll find most conflict in that region. And Iraq is something else. It was the lines were kind of already drawn, but something similar happened in Iraq.
So let's get back to what you can do.
Yep.
Because this is history. Something's got to be done now. Because really, as Europeans, we feel like we're under attack. And the thing is, it's brutal.
Okay.
It's brutal. And yeah, you can say that we're attacking you in Syria. But the thing is, Europe, well, luckily we're not going to be in Europe anymore. After Wales, woohoo, bring it on.
Every Friday
After this, you know, as far as we're concerned, we're open. We let people have mosques. We let everybody have open religion.
Yeah.
Everybody can do their religion the way they want to. And now it's like slam.
Yeah.
We're letting all of these refugees. No problem. We're Christians. This is what we do.
Not
and
all of
now
you guys
all
are
of a
Christians.
sudden, now we're faced with
Terrorism.
a terrorism.
Okay, let me tell you something.
What are we supposed to do?
Let me tell you what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
If you ask the question, how comes of all of the European countries, if you look at the European countries, the ones that are in the EU, do you want me to give you, because I've done actually research on this, so I'm going to give you the findings right here and right now, yeah? If you look at the European countries, things like the United Kingdom, obviously France, these countries with a large Muslim population, you'll find that terrorism usually happens in those countries, most disparately or comparatively to other European nations. Why?
Can I just say something?
Go
Sorry
on.
to stop you, try.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that this, I don't know, it's from the Quran or Hadith, about if you die as a martyr, you're going to get all these virgins?
Yeah.
Where's that come from?
No, hold on, let me tell you. You're right. What they do is this faction that has always been part of the Islamic kind of, they're called the Kharijites, the Khawarij in Arabic. They have always been part of kind of the community extremists, right? And they've always basically, let me put it this way, you know, in the Quran, I'm going to simplify it to the lowest common.
I know where this comes
I'm telling you where it's coming from. The Quran, if you open it up, you'll find there's two kinds of verses. There's some verses that talk about peace, and there's some verses that talk about fighting. Okay. How do mainstream Muslims interpret these? Mainstream Muslims, when I mean mainstream Muslims, I'm talking about all of the institutions in the world. So we talk about, even if we talk about universities, Medina University, even Al-Azhar, Deoband University, all of them, the big universities in the world which have any kind of influence, academic influence, have done one thing and they've united on condemning, these actions, and they've interpreted the Quran in a so-called peaceful way. So what they'll do, these verses, there's two kinds of verses. There's verses like in the Quran where it says, ومن أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل إنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. Whoever kills one person, in chapter 5 verse 8, whoever kills one person, it's like the whole humanity. Okay, for less than be for murder, corruption, it's like all of humanity. And there's other verses, وقاتلوهم حيث ثقفتموهم.
And that's schizophrenic though, isn't it?
No, I'll tell you what. Everything is. Give me time, There's other verses that says fight them where you see them,
Kill them.
Okay, kill them. Yes, you're actually right. Or kill them where you see them. That's what it says. Okay. And other verses. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فَضَرْبَ الرِّقَابِ. If you see the disbelievers, then strike them at their necks. Okay. Right. Their necks. فَضَرْبَ الرِّقَابِ means necks. Anyways, how do you reconcile? But anyways, there's two kinds of verses. How do we as mainstream Muslims?
I just asked you about.
I'm telling you.
I just want to find out where that is.
I'm telling you.
Because this is the inspiration for a lot of people.
I'm giving you the summarized, abridged, easy version. These two verses, mainstream Muslims, Orthodox Muslims, will say that those verses that are talking about fighting regard combatants that are fighting you. For example, in the context of war. And we leave it as that. Those extremists, they say no, since, and this is exactly what they do, say since, for example, the British people has pledged allegiance to its sovereign, they too are guilty of the same crimes
No, but
as the government.
I just want to know where this verse comes from. Issue.
Go on.
What would you say the highest percentage of terrorism is at the moment?
I think, according to Noam Chomsky, I've done research on this. If you include state terrorism as part of the unit of analysis, yeah, then I would say, if you look at the drone strikes, if you look generally if you look from wars from 1945 onwards, from the end of World War II, through the Cold War and into
I think drones are disgusting.
Yeah, fair enough. So I would say that there's no doubt in anyone's mind, if you count the casualties and deaths that have been committed in North Korea, in Vietnam, in Afghanistan, and Iraq, that America is the leading terrorist state. That's my opinion, and that's Noam Chomsky's opinion, and that's basically
these numbers. It's just the reality.
Yeah.
It's not an opinion. It's
Yeah,
facts.
yes, these are the facts. These are the facts. So I'm saying that, look, no matter what ISIS can do, whatever evil they're doing, yeah, whatever monstrosities they're committing, if they continue doing what they're doing for 50 years, they will still not be able to even come close to the numbers that the US have already set the bar so high. The thing is, you look at ISIS now and how they've established their state, that's exactly how the United States established its states about 200 years ago. All right, so they annihilated a population. So I'll say to you one thing. Imagine like 200 years from now, your great-grandchildren or great-great-grandchildren come about and they say, look, I'm from ISIS. And you say, that's a disgusting state. Look how it was founded, yeah? But you say now the world has recognized it as a state. We've gotten our borders now. The United States, the parable of that is exactly the same parable of the United States. They have literally established a state through genocide, through going against their treaties with the natives, killing the people there, and then when they established it, now they believe in something called manifest destiny, which, by the way, in political terminology, if you look at the politics of the United States of America, you'll realize that no president, whether Democrat or Republican, can be elected unless they believe in manifest destiny. What is it? Manifest destiny is the idea of westward expansion, of the United States expanding westward until they basically take over the world. An imperialistic concept that no politician in the United States can get elected unless they believe it.
So do you think there's ever...
This is ISIS.
Do you think
But the only difference is they eat chips and Big Macs and they have Hollywood, and ISIS, they do it in a much more direct and graphic and gruesome and primitive way. ISIS put people on crucifixion and this and that. They kill people, I don't know, stone them. These guys put them on electric chairs and torture them in a big complex in Cuba that no one knows what's going on behind it.
Do you think there's ever going to be a point in our world when we can just live in harmony?
No.
No, really?
Yeah, basically, let me tell you the reason, yeah? It depends on your conception of human nature, innit?
Yeah.
Philosophers in the Enlightenment period have grappled with this. If you look at Thomas Hobbes and all of them, the majority of Enlightenment philosophers, they start their philosophy with what is human nature. The majority of them, they say human nature is prone to evil. Okay, I wouldn't say necessarily that that's completely true, but I say there's an element of truth in that. In the Quran it says, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, that God gave human being a propensity to good and a propensity to evil. And generally, in chapter 96 of the Quran, it says that human being has a propensity to transgress. So because human being has all of these vices that inhibit him from living a self-disciplined life, where they can just be content with what they have, power and ego and all these things will drive human being invariably to conquest and to overtaking people and to demeaning and subjugating and subordinating them. And that's the human problem. Now what is problematic is if the West takes this human problem and changes the label and says this is an Islamic problem. That's disingenuous. That's why we can't tolerate it, because that will be saying, okay, the Muslims are unique in you're unique in your murder, you're unique in your expansion, you're unique in this, that and the other. I'll say no, we're absolutely not unique in that. We're a big part of the world population, and we're literally sometimes can mimic the same behaviors as other people of other faiths.
But I think what's happening with ISIS is backfiring, because so many Muslims are converted to Christianity or atheism or whatever thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's just...
I think we agree here, that's the thing. It's because, Connor, you don't get moments of silent agreement.
I know.
And this is one of them, guys, ladies and gentlemen. I think here we both understood that actually, we both agree, you would say, yeah? That really, when you look at the statistics, it's no use falling into the ploy of the right-wing extremists in this country and blaming all of the world's issues really on the scapegoat of Islam. Because if we do that, that's not going to deal with the complexities and the nuances of the reality of the world. What we're saying is, let's take a step back and look at the numbers. You see, and terrorism, let me tell you one thing, right? I was personally just looking at some figures from The Guardian, yeah, and they quoted the ONS, the Office of National Statistics. They were saying that terrorism, in general, like, you know, they have the mortality thing and mortality like numbers and that, yeah. How many people died from terrorism? According to the parliamentary report, in the United Kingdom, about 50, if you add, maybe about 60 people died from terrorism from 2001 to this day. That's about 60 people, yeah? Now, I'm not saying this number is negligible or we should forget about it. It's not only just an attack on people, but it's an attack on the nation. So we shouldn't say like, okay, we should just put it to the side. But what we are saying is this. I went to a speed awareness course because I was speeding, right? I'll be honest with you guys, yeah? And I was speeding on the highway.
All right.
You're right.
I thought you meant speeding as in
I was speeding. So the guy, the instructor, he came out and he said, you know, the United Kingdom, of all the countries, is one of the best in terms of road safety. And he gave us the numbers. He said there's 1,760 people in 2016, 1,760 people that die on the roads. 28% of them are motorcyclists. Okay, anyways, this is just a bit too much statistic. The point is, you're more likely by maybe about 1,000 to 2,000%. Now this is a massive number. You're more likely by 1,000 to 2,000% to get run over by a car than you are to be struck by a terrorist attack.
I just want to ask you one more thing, and then we'll, because I think we've agreed on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Why does it say in Islam if you leave that you can die?
Well, the thing is, you have to understand that Islam, when we're talking about Islam now as practiced in the West in these countries, like we're in the West, yeah? If a person or friend of mine disbelieves, yeah, and this has happened actually, a lot of people, they come into Islam, they leave Islam, they come into Islam, this kind of thing, oscillation. We as Muslims, it should be known, we have no right to compel that person to be what to be a Muslim. We have no right to do that. So in the context of the United Kingdom and the West and stuff, there's no way anyone could say that you would even force the person, let alone kill them for doing something against their will. That's just a fabricated thing that some people, because of Salman Rushdie, in the case of Salman Rushdie and the Iranians, they did not fatwa against him. I think they take that too literally. We have nothing to do with the Iranian regime. So we would say that if anyone in the West, anyone in Britain, anyone in the United States, anywhere here, then if they decide not to be Muslim, then not only do you have to not hurt them or not compel them, but you also have to be kind to them. And that's our position.
Because I've been doing a lot of studying about ex-Muslims converting either to atheism or Christianity, and they're just getting like so many people trying to attack them.
But I agree with you. But you know what? Let me tell you something.
And
right?
you know, can I just say?
Yeah, of course.
Like there might be a lot of Muslims that are having doubts.
Yeah.
Because I've read the Quran, and to me it just the way Prophet Muhammad has these revelations when he, like with Aisha, with Zayd, and his adopted son's wife, all of a sudden he has a revelation that he changes this, and it just, to me, it looks a little bit suspicious, and that's why I didn't become a Muslim. But I feel that for somebody born in a Muslim family, that the fear of actually thinking, I don't want any more of this, and I want to live. Just because they grow up in Muslim is a very community-based religion, and I think it's just I feel for those people.
Let me tell you something, right? Going back to Noam Chomsky, yeah?
Who's Norman Chomsky?
Noam. He's a very famous academic that's a liberal kind of guy.
I thought you were having to think about Trump.
No. He's a well-known linguist there. Professional linguistics, yeah? He quoted one of his books. I can't remember which book for now, but he said that, and by the way, before I quote him, I'll be clear that I personally, and Muslims generally, don't see liberalism or democracy or let's say anything as an ultimate truth of any kind. There are, if you put it into a Venn diagram, there are similarities on a practical level between Islam and these ideologies, but we don't see that this is an objective truth in any capacity, right? We believe only Islam is an objective, full truth. Okay, having said that, we're saying here, since we're playing by the rules of liberalism and we're in a liberal type country, yeah, and most people who would identify themselves as liberal, maybe not with a big L, obviously I'm talking about with a small L. Then what I'm saying here is, he said, going to his quote, that if you don't believe in freedom of speech for the people you despise the most, then you don't believe in freedom of speech at all.
Yeah.
Okay, now what I'm saying, if this is the premise that we're working upon, then not only do we have to stand here in Speaker's Corner and talk about the fact, as liberals, right? And once again, I'm not a liberal, but as yourself and others, speak about the fact that, okay, some Oh, okay, well, whatever. You know that what do you call it? That ex-Muslims have a hard time.
Yeah.
We also have to talk about the fact that people that come into Islam have a hard time. That's not reported because it does not fit the media narrative. And once again, we have to talk about Muslim minorities being attacked and prosecuted. We have to talk about legislation that's been put through on an EU level
How do you think
that
Britain
discriminates against certain segments.
What is Britain like for Muslims?
Huh? Finish off. Go ahead. Well, last question.
Last question. What is,
I meant what you were saying, but yeah, carry on.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. All right, go on.
what do you think Britain is like for Muslims?
I think it's one of the best countries in Europe. Yeah, probably if not the best. I don't know. I haven't been to every country.
On a comparative level.
Yeah, on a comparative level.
great
Like,
place.
it's probably the best in Europe, not considering obviously Turkey, Bosnia, and these countries which are actually Muslim countries.
but not-
I'm talking about Western Europe. From what I know, it's probably the best. Yeah, and what I'm saying is that because Britain is the most morally consistent on a liberal level country in the Western European hemisphere, it should continue being that way by disregarding and putting to the side this, I would say, this poison, this right-wing poison that's coming and
You've got
creeping in.
right-wing in Islam, we've got right-wing in... you know, if you can have
Right-wings are
right-wing in
different.
Islam,
Yeah.
you can have right-wing in Christianity.
Yeah.
I'm well saying
Do
that...
you have that right wing in Islam?
And we don't
Yeah,
have
well,
right wing
ISIS
and left
is
wing.
right-wing.
She means that more
ISIS is-
conservative
Yeah.
Muslims and
Well,
liberal
well,
Muslims. Or,
You
yeah?
know, right wing here are quite conservative as well. You can have extremes in every faith. But you know what? I just want you to go, as this conversation we had today, I want you to take it back to brothers and sisters because you've got light inside you
Thank you.
and a lot of knowledge.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Nice to talk to you.
Hopefully we can both enlighten our communities.
Definitely.
Take care, yeah?
See you later.
Bye.